This is for entertainment purposes only.
People don't believe in energy and vibrations and that we connect through vibrations to the universe and the world. It's like when you're sitting in your car and you're listening to music. What are you listening to? Can you touch music? Can you see music? How is the music coming out of the radio to your ear and you're listening to it? It's not there. There is a certain vibration or a frequency that the music is carried on that your ears can hear. Now there are frequencies that are higher or lower that you as a human can't get because we're not used to that frequency. The more we listen to music that has the bad frequency for our body, the more we're disconnected from the real frequency that we really have with our higher self.
Thanks for tuning into another episode of Quik Reaction TV, the coolest vibe on YouTube. If you're new to the Quik fam, please like, subscribe, and rock the bell for new releases. It's free and helps the channel grow. I've got a good selection today. Let's get to it.
The right frequency, anything becomes achievable, even levitation. Randall Carlson talks about it on the Joe Rogan podcast. Take a look.
Everything vibrates at a frequency, and if you know that frequency, you can control things. This is the model, and this is diagramming all the frequencies of the elements and what their vibrational frequencies are and the numbers that measure those frequencies. And they're all the numbers we get from looking at these ancient traditions that recur over and over and over again.
And so through this technology, they're able to move stones or cut stones or all the above?
All the above.
This helps us understand how the cut in the mysterious Al-Nasar rock formation in Saudi Arabia might have happened. There are two huge boulders, and they're split by a really smooth crack, indicating someone used advanced methods for cutting. Regarding levitation, let me show you some evidence. In 2015, a device built by a team in Spain successfully levitated and manipulated small objects with sound.
We call these transducers, which is just a fancy word for speakers. These speakers, they only work at one frequency, and this frequency is 40 kilohertz, which we shouldn't be able to hear. Only bats, dogs, and other animals should be able to hear 40 kilohertz. But because the ultrasound is so powerful, if we put some particles, they should be kept in midair with the power of sound. And all these things that they are just being like kept there with air, actually it's not air, it's the ultrasound pushing them from all directions.
Here's an interesting old video of an acoustic levitation device by Dr. David Deek. Scientists already knew that sound waves create oscillating pockets of pressurized air, which can produce a force on an object capable of counteracting the pull of gravity. But while ultrasound levitation devices do exist, they all rely on standing waves created when two sound waves of the same frequency are emitted from opposite directions and superimposed on one another. That means all previous devices require two sets of transducers. In 1987, Dr. David Deek designed and built an acoustic levitation and did a microgravity experiment for NASA-related subject matter. The 12-inch cubed plexiglass Helmholtz resonant cavity has 3 speakers attached to the cube by aluminum acoustic waveguides. By applying a continuous resonant 600 Hz sound wave and adjusting the amplitude and phase relationship amongst the 3 speakers, he could control levitation and movement in all 3 axes of the ambient space. The research was used to show the effects of microgravity conditions in orbit in the space shuttle environment. In addition, there is evidence for a whole new type of medicine in which DNA can be influenced and reprogrammed by words and frequencies without cutting out and replacing single genes. Jerdef and his team successfully transformed frog embryos to salamander embryos simply by transmitting the DNA information pattern through frequency alone. Gergiev's research group proved that with this method, chromosomes damaged with X-rays, for example, can be repaired. They even captured information patterns of a particular DNA and transmitted it to another, thus reprogramming cells to another genome. So they successfully transformed, for example, frog embryos into salamander embryos simply by transmitting the DNA information patterns according to Russian researchers. Our DNA is not only responsible for the construction of our body, but also serves as data storage and communication. The Russian linguists found that the genetic code, especially in the useless 90%, follows the same rules as all our human languages. To this end, they compared the rules of syntax, semantics, and the basic rules of grammar. They found that the alkalines of our DNA follow regular grammar and have set rules just like our languages. So human languages did not appear coincidentally, but are a reflection of our inherent DNA.
Well, let's be nice. Yeah. Let's be nice. We don't have to go there. I mean, you're not wrong, but you didn't have to say it. I mean, good Lord.
They will levitate. Unbelievable. I've seen electricity go right into the objects and a million pieces just fly apart.
In fact, using only 75 watts of energy, enough for a small light bulb, Hutchison made a 60-pound cannonball rise off the table. It would also fuse dissimilar materials, heat metal but not burn the wood it sat on, shatter metal as well as change its crystalline structure. This was something to write home about.
Beginning of 1980, experimenting with all the electromagnetics and electrostatic equipments I had at the time, I started to notice some very, very unusual effects, such as a room being filled up very quickly with multicolored lights, steel bars sitting on wood and not causing any fires, metal turning to jelly, things levitating and jumping off to the ceiling, or simply go up, hover, and then fall back down.
Dubbed by some as the poltergeist machine, there is no one machine, just a lot of old Army surplus gear, randomly tuned by John. No one knows how it works. John has apparently figured out the right combination of radio waves and electrical energy to create the effect. If it could be proven, its impact would be huge. You'd have to rewrite most of the science textbooks.
Revolutionize the planet. If you can build a zero-point energy reactor about the size of your microwave oven, put it in the back of your house somewhere, you run your house. You don't need to, you run all its electricity needs. You don't need to pull anything off the national grid. Well, if you put that into the third world, you're going to revolutionize the third world. That is as much a threat to some people as it is a benefit.
And as far as the Hutchison effect goes, I'm rather disturbed that the U.S. government and aerospace corporations has it. The concerns of it being used for an evil force by the military-industrial complex disturbs me quite a bit. I like to see it used for the helping of nature, because there's so much pollution going on with nature. Mankind tends to want to fight each other all the time with wars.
We need to talk about Johnny Depp's portrayal of the Mad Hatter, because it is full of dark history Easter eggs that you may have missed. If you know of the character the Mad Hatter, then you may also know about the dark history of hatters. For 250 years, people that made hats were using a poisonous mercury-based solution that caused their bodies to fall apart and for them to slowly lose their minds, which I just did a whole episode on that and other deadly beauty and fashion trends that you should check out. When Johnny Depp got the role of the Hatter, he became obsessed with the dark history of hat making, and he wanted to include parts of that history in the character. And the biggest homage he pays to that history is with the orange hair. The mercury solution that hatters used to use was called carroting solution because it was so bright orange. They would sit in these poorly ventilated rooms all day, just inhaling the poisonous mercury, getting sicker and sicker. And Johnny Depp wanted to honor that. He wanted the skin to be pale and sickly. He wanted his teeth to look like they were decaying, because that's what would happen to these people. And finally, and this is my favorite detail, he put a lot of details into the costume to make it look like he was a hat maker. Up here in his hat, there's tools to make hats. He has a ring that's a push pin, and on the other side he has this belt of thread so he could be sewing hats all day. Anyways, I have so much more on the dark history of hatting in this week's episode, and you're definitely going to want to check it out.
This makes no fucking sense. I mean, it's just bullshit. Fuck.
Let me know what you think in the comments.
Oh, listen, fam. An explorer had just recorded a mermaid and was trying to share it with the world.
Oh, yeah, I seen that.
So listen, Sarah Connor grew up listening to stories about mermaids from her sailor father. But 3 months ago, after her father's death, Sarah received a legacy of 300 pages of a diary. These pages detailed all encounters with mermaids and included a map showing an unknown island in the Pacific Ocean. Equipped and aboard her father's vessel, she embarked on a journey to the island with her dog. After 39 days of travel, she arrived at the island. Without resting, she walked into the depths of the island with her dog. There, she encountered an old, abandoned oceanic research station encircled by a metal fence. So, Sarah jumped over the fence and continued towards the entrance of the station. Suddenly, her dog became anxious and started barking. Sarah, unconcerned, wanted to enter the building. However, the dog was trying to pull her back. She tied her dog to the metal fence and entered the station. It was really dark inside. And she switched on her flashlight. On a nearby wall, she saw a warning: escape before the siren song. Her heart raced with a mix of fear and excitement. As she rushed towards the exit, a haunting melody began to echo through the building. Disoriented, she descended to a lower level, approaching an ocean-facing observation window. There, behind the glass, was a mermaid. This was the final moment captured in the recording on her iPhone 16. Fam, if you want to see the full video, follow us, click here then on more, and finally on photos.
Hell no. Okay, so I've gathered up more information on this story, and a lot of you were asking where exactly in Russia was this fallen angel statue found. Okay, so the fallen angel was actually found 340 kilometers or 210 miles away from a town called Zaya in Amur Oblast. Now, I did a little more digging into this story, and there was an alleged translation from Russian into English in the original video. Now, the Russian workers mark reference to repenting around this fallen angel statue and talking about some form of unknown energy emitting and irradiating from deep within inside it. Now, the Russian workers who discovered the fallen angel have since disappeared and are nowhere to be found. The only things left behind was a mobile phone and the excavator who was originally helping the workers unearth this angel of unknown origin. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I would say that this story gives you something to really think about, right? Anyway, guys, let me know what you think about this story. I mean, this is absolutely crazy. Let me know your comments. What are your thoughts on this? Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this video, hit follow. I upload multiple videos every single week, and I'll see you in the next one.
Jesus can't save these hoes. Why are you trying? What make you think you greater than Jesus, nigga?
So AI has created a Nephilim trailer to, I think, a Nephilim movie. You know, the AI that be predicting everything and taking pictures of everybody. Let's get into this video. Entertainment purposes only. Mind you. Lie to y'all, that was a little too realistic for my comfort. Did y'all catch that subliminal of the DNA? And it was AI generated? Interesting. Let me know what y'all think about the Nephilim trailer in the comments. Like or follow for more wisdom and stay tuned. Follow me on YouTube if y'all want that exclusive content. Oh yeah, by the way, this just for entertainment purposes only.
You got me.
Let me know what you think in the comments.
A documentary called Revival of Evil, and there was this art teacher, and he gave up on God, he cussed out God and started worshiping Satan, and he said, Satan, I want you to show me what you look like, because I want to paint you, and I want to look at that thing as a visual of who I worship so that it would give me more faith. And he said he shut out all the lights, closed all the blinds, and he pulled out a canvas, and he started painting, and he said every movement he made was something else moving him.
Another force was physically directing my body. Painted for several hours, and I was finished. It was the most fantastic painting I've ever done.
And the painting looks just like one of those beings from the Avatar movies. So what does this word avatar mean? It comes from Sanskrit, and it means descent. It's actually the incarnation of a spiritual being or a powerful deity on earth. So I immediately think of the Garden of Eden when I think of a powerful entity that came to earth and manifested to Eve and said, eat this fruit from this forbidden tree of knowledge. There's also a sacred tree in the movie Avatar where Jake meets the woman at the tree. So the main character's name is Jake Sully, and he comes from out there to this Earth-like planet where he meets the girl at the sacred tree. And his name Jake originates from the word Jacob, which means supplanter, and the word supplanter means to transgress civil or moral law. His last name, Sully, actually means to defile. So this being, whose name means the lawbreaker who's coming to defile, meets a woman at the tree, and an interesting thing to note is that he can't walk. Just like the serpent in the Garden of Eden was cursed to crawl on his belly from here on out. The planet's name is Pandora, and if you look at the story of Pandora's box, Zeus gave his daughter this box, but she was told not to open it. Very familiar with the story of the Garden of Eden, where God put Eve in a garden and said, there's one thing you're not supposed to touch or eat from. Well, she opened Pandora's box, and out of it came all the evils to fill the earth. Just like when Eve bit from that fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and her eyes were opened, and the earth was cursed. It's also interesting to note that the actress's name, who plays Natiri, the main character in the movie, her name is Zoe. When you look at the name Zoe, it's actually from the word Eve. This may be completely a coincidence, but I think it's interesting that the main character female, who is a representation of Eve in the garden next to that sacred tree, who is met by this being from out there who's a deceiver, who's coming to defile, is named Eve. So this movie, like so many other movies, has this Gnostic plot.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Large-scale outbreak of classified, dependent upon which comes first. Civilian and military units shall be trained in containment and combat of classified, including irradiated classified, with possibility of classified airborne, classified flesh-eating, classified, and or all of the above in such event as classified spewing, classified escape, are released or otherwise become uncontrollable. Air Force units may also be directed to combat said classified due to their enormous size and otherworldly strengths. Should event occur in urban areas? Jesus.
Oh man, damn.
I'm retiring after 23 years, and my job was to monitor and analyze the conflict of 3 extraterrestrial biological entity civilizations that have been terraforming and manipulating genetic material on this planet for at least 270 million years. And then over the next 7 hours, he broke down tall blondes, reptilian humanoids, and the Greys. He said the Greys were largely artificial intelligence. A lot was unknown about the progenitor of the Greys. The blondes were in many, many solar systems in the Milky Way galaxy. That the reptilians were here first. And that the reptilians claim Earth as their own. But the blondes want to be able to do laboratory experiments on Earth as well, and so do the Greys. 3-way conflict. The blondes have been trying to annihilate the reptilians. The reptilians have been trying to annihilate the blondes. The Greys have sometimes taken sides, other times they do their own independent thing. But he said, what we have come to learn is why I wanted to do this meeting with you. Because I got a call that said you have to get Linda Moulton Howe's new book. She has a 106-page chapter about the resurrection technology that we have never wanted anyone to know anything about, that on any discovery of this ever. And I said, well, my sources are the people in the human abduction syndrome. He said, I realize we underestimate what the non-humans are doing with people. And then he talked to me about how the reptilians and the blondes fight. He said, the blondes make reptilian containers, and they have the ability to put their consciousness and their life force into the reptilian container. The reptilians began to catch on to what the blondes were doing, and they started making blonde containers and putting their reptilian consciousness. And then the Greys saw what the blondes and the reptilians were doing, and the Greys created blondes and reptilians that they would move into. And he said, Linda, you cannot tell the players on this planet without very sophisticated technology. He said over time, in the analysis that he did, that the biggest fight seemed to be over territory. And the biggest fight seemed to be over what to do or not to do with one of the latest genetic experiments, Homo sapiens sapiens. And all three of those extraterrestrial groups want to do laboratory experiments here. They want the other two to go away. And he said to me, what I think and why I'm talking to you and why I sought you out. I frankly think that if the whole world knew the whole truth that I'm talking to you today, it would probably create a dent in the ability of those three extraterrestrial civilizations to manipulate humans.
First of all, let's get one thing straight. Crack is cheap.
If you made it this far, thanks. I appreciate you all. Subscribe, like, and comment on today's video. Join the Quik fam and slide over to another good selection appearing on your screen. Help us grow to 500 subscribers. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one. Quik!